Our guest this week is Nathan Haynes, a thoughtful and insightful young man who made Boyle his home just over a year ago. With a master's in psychology, Nathan brings a fresh and compassionate perspective to some of the most pressing issues facing younger generations today. And in this episode, we explore the power of human connection, the importance of collective sense-making, and the emotional landscape young people must navigate in today's world. Nathan works in residential care, supporting teenagers aged 16 to 18 who, for various reasons, don't fit into the traditional foster care system. So as you might have gathered so far, this is going to be a deep and thought-provoking conversation, and Nathan has a remarkable gift for breaking down complex ideas in a way that's accessible, relatable, and full of heart. So I hope you enjoy the episode, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Nathan, welcome to the Voices of Boyle. How are you today?
I'm not doing too bad. It's chilly outside, but staying warm on the inside.
Lovely, yeah, exactly. I feel like we've had a podcast already. We've had a nice long talk before we started. But for those listeners that don't know you, tell us a bit about where you're from, and more importantly, Nathan, how did you end up here in this wonderful town of Boyle?
Well, where I'm from, all the extended family is down in Waterford. My immediate family then is in Longford. In Abbeyshrew, beautiful little village, has one tidy towns, very proud of that. And why I'm in Boyle then is for a mix of things, but it's largely I like the culture. I actually, if I really tried to, I wouldn't be able to put my finger on exactly why I like Boyle, but it's not too often that you get a town of 4,000 and you get an art studio and you get an old abbey and you get an estate house and you get a forest within 5 minutes of a walk or a run or whatever, and you get the Carrickeel Mountains with 15 cairns on top, which are as old as the pyramids, and you get it's in a
little mixed bag.
It's a very rich place, and you are half an hour away from Sligo. Then you get all the Yeats country stuff where that just has its own gravity for art. That model museum is one of my favorite places. I love that. And then you have all the surfers. You've a surprising interest in food up in Sligo, which is in the Lovage Cafe.
Lovage, yeah.
Yeah, they have great food in there, but they're very proud of their food. As in, again, you only get these it's not a difference in it's not a difference in what it is. It's just a difference in the passion. As in, maybe there's some really good food near my home place. Actually, there is. Okay, there's the Rusty Inn in Abbeyshrew. It's great food. And it's pub food or whatever way you want to phrase it. Really healthy, really hearty meals. Love it. But I go into the Lovage Cafe and I'm just oh, okay, there's a display to this. They care. They care in just a different way. They care in the artsy way. I don't even know how to put my finger on it. But but it's noted, and it's just kind of okay, there's some sort of striving towards the ideal. It's kind of like an Apollo sort of thing. Ancient Greece used to have Apollo as aiming for perfection, and Dionysus was this god for death and rebirth. But just this urge and this kind of I dare to aim for better than. It's why not? It's yeah, I don't care. It's a town of 4,000. It's yeah, I'm still going to aim for beauty. I'm still going to aim for the truth. Still going to aim for the good. And it's not often you get that. So I'm still trying to figure out why I'm here, but okay. I'm here for the long run. I'm in it. I'm just yeah, okay, Boyle's my spot. And here's where we're going to try and pursue, again, the good, the true, and the beautiful.
And so I'm always interested from a newcomer's perspectives. When they arrive into a town like Boyle, immediately they'll probably have likes and dislikes about the town. And just maybe, you've probably given your likes, and there may be the different cultural aspects of the town. Are there any things that maybe don't stand out as being, because we all, you can have likes and dislikes.
Sure. I'll give you my pet peeve.
Yeah.
My pet peeve is the AstroTurf in the middle of the town.
Okay.
That thing is so slippy. It's absolutely useless. As in, please, someone
the tennis club or?
No, tennis club's great.
Right.
I'm on about in the small little park. I love walking around there. I feed the birds and stuff like that. I think it's beautiful. I love the artwork along there. They have that piano kind of circle. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you get the reference.
And the pleasure grounds, yeah.
Love that. But the AstroTurf that's there, as in that little basketball court or soccer court or whatever else, is the most low utility thing to put it kindly, love the playground, but that one, as in just the actual fabric on the end, is slippy as hell. So sorry, you're asking for like an actual deep kind of like, what's your complaint about the place? But I'm just like, no, local councillor, whoever it is, I still haven't figured it out yet. I'm getting my bearings, but whoever the local councillor is, please fix that. That is my only complaint.
And then obviously do you think the town, again, from a newcomer's perspective, how long are you in Boyle, by the way?
Just over a year. So what, September?
Okay, so you would have,
a year and a bit.
Around the time you joined us in the chess club then last year would have been around, okay, that was your kind of introduction.
Yeah, that was me starting.
Okay,
chess club was one of the first things. I love chess.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So then, looking at it then from being here a year, is there anything in your mind that the town as a whole collectively maybe could improve on, just as kind of an observation from someone outside of the town coming into Boyle? Is there something we can improve on as a town? Because look, we're always kind of nitpicking as people from Boyle. We're always saying what's bad about the town and like, oh, this, that, the other. But, obviously there's loads about Boyle that's really good. But from a newcomer's perspective, do you think there's anything we could improve on as a town?
Sure. Okay, so I have a friend who works with the Irish water quality thing. So he would say that you need to be checking your water, as in like what's going into the river, what's getting drained into it, and what the local ecology is like around that. He would say this because over the last 50 years we have lost 70% of insect biomass. Sorry, I know this is going way into the weeds, and this is only one friend, but he talks about this endlessly. I was on a hike with him over to Ben Nevis, like the tallest mountain in the British Isles and stuff, there up in Scotland. And I was stuck on like, on a bus again. And it was like, 8 hours total of travel. I can't even remember how long it was. He talked the entire time, passionately, as it never repeated himself. It's exactly what you want. But he just went so into the weeds. But so that's the first voice that comes, because he's quite so passionate about it, is that how you treat your water will dictate the kind of nature and ecology around you. Forest Park is beautiful, and the river through Boyle and the lake and everything else is beautiful. Whether I don't think that's being actively monitored or actively checked, just to see what your quality of insects is, and therefore your quality of like the ecology that kind of is built around that. Because I've already asked if there was a group, and there isn't. As for everything else, well, for myself, as in like my frontier, I think everyone has like a story. Everyone has like their hero's journey, and they have a frontier. Some people, the frontier is technology. Some people, the frontier is business. Some people, the frontier is, money or whatever else it is. My frontier is connection and intimacy, is how to bring people together in a way where they have like a rich sense of themselves and others, and just like it's basically community, but hopefully without the small town gossip. Like that's my frontier. So for that, what I do see is that 5D living in the middle of town. So they're starting at something which is interesting. I'm looking forward to them bringing in sensory deprivation tanks. That would be my thing.
They have a lot of good stuff coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had actually just Mark and Gary recorded one last week. So they're
is that up yet?
No, it'll be coming out.
I was thinking I would have seen that.
About 3 weeks, yeah.
Okay, I want to see that one. So that's one I'm interested about. But alternatively is something, as in like I noticed community gardens and stuff like that, but and look, I don't really blame this for Boyle, but just as in like overall, no one wants to look at like the deep future. And I don't mean deep. Okay, like we just talked beforehand and we were talking about AI and stuff like that. I don't mean like deep. I just mean over the next, like say 5-10 years, something like that. It seems like Europe itself will go through a change. And it's just the storytelling ability for that. So it'd be nice if local people were, or it'd be nice if Ireland itself was facing into that in a more true way. For example, here's a brand new one, is that Trump is like, promising tariffs for anything made outside of America, but he is promising tax rates that do compete with the tax rates in Ireland, which is the one thing that has kept the Irish economy going for the last 50 years. If that goes, if all of those corporations up in Dublin go, that is a massive change. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, like maybe he won't do it, or maybe it won't make that big of a change. But again, if you just think 10 years out, that change is coming. One way or another, that change is coming. So grand, no worries at all. What's the thing around the place? How do we do the community gardens in a way that is fun and playful? So my mom in Longford is doing like horticulture, learning how to do like say crop rotation, or just what plants go with what other plants, what are the relationships between them, can we name any of the plants, all of that sort of stuff, just trying to get back into nature, and doing that with an ear towards like mindfulness and breathing and all of this sort of stuff, such that we can all come together, grow some food, do a bit of like kind of, again, breath work or mindfulness or yoga or whatever it is, and then you can have some food afterwards. So you're growing food, you're doing something that kind of harmonizes us together, instead of just like, talking and giving out, or like whatever it is that we naturally do when we come together, because humans naturally complain.
So what you're talking about really is kind of being more self-reliant.
Yes.
Becoming more in touch with nature, obviously, in an ever-evolving AI world. But, growing your own food, self-sustainability in a way, really, is what you're kind of getting down to, is it?
Yes, but there's two ways of doing this. Okay, so there's the story, or there's the language of the spirit of geometry and the spirit of finesse. So what you're after pointing towards there is the spirit of geometry. Like, as in just technically, we have to get to a certain destination. And it's going to have a left turn, a right turn, then a right turn again, then we're going to land. Where whatever it is, grand. Okay, so it's just all angles, it's all shapes. Okay, then you have the spirit of finesse, which is along the way, how are we going to do it? So if we truly are to become self-reliant, then we have to learn how to survive for longer without our screens, perhaps. We have to learn, here's one, we have to learn how to be social. Just point blank, period. And if you don't need to learn how to be social, your kids, no offense, and I don't mean this personally, but the kids need to learn how to be social, because right now I work with kids and they do not know how to sit in a space in silence. They do not. Okay, so here's one thing. Okay, so here's a definition I have found really rich, which is the difference between pregnancy and emptiness. Okay, so you have this with speech. Pregnant speech is hopefully what's going on at the moment, where there's like 10 different possibilities and they're all alive, and just, we could go in any of the directions, but there's something, it's brimming with potential. It's overflowing with potential. It's an exciting conversation to be in. Maybe I'm overloading the conversation, but you know what I mean. Okay, then you have empty speech. Empty speech is small talk, and we all know it. Okay, but by the way, okay, so I do not mean to put down small talk. Small talk is a great way to check in on how the other person is doing. If you talk with your mom or with your partner or something like that, and it's like, geez, it's awful weather out today, and like I was planning on doing this, whatever else, you're not really talking about the weather. The other person is understanding that under those specific words, he's having a good day, he's having a bad day, oh, he's frustrated, oh, he's like, I know this mood, he's itchy, he needs to go for a run. As in, hey, by the way, Carlo, just go, okay? Like, whatever, I know we've plans, but just go, okay? I couldn't be arsed putting up with you for the next like hour while you suffer through this whinge, whatever it is. Or you're hungry, or whatever else. But okay, so I do not mean to shit on small talk, but we also know the version of small talk where it's just small talk and it doesn't go anywhere. And that is what all of the young people hate with a passion, is small talk that doesn't go anywhere. And I know this because I work with them, and they will tell me directly if they sense too much of this. They'd be like, this is not how you act outside of work. This isn't, like, you're not being real right now. Like, there's so many different versions of you out in the world. You are showing me a very sterile version of who you are right now. And the reason that they come off with language that's that good and that deeply philosophical isn't because they're fecking some, like, monk, or because they've gone off and studied it. It is because they are getting really deep philosophies through TikTok in 10-second clips without any of the network, without any of the connections into real philosophy, which is why they're quite so lost, because they believe that we should, they believe in what? They believe that they should save the world and save nature, and they also believe that they should be full of vitality and full of, like, life. And it's just kind of like, okay, no worries, let's talk that one through. Like, okay, and I'm not going to go down that one. I want to get back to this, okay? Because this is the one that I'm actually, this is the terms that I'm actually connecting with the kids on, is pregnant speech and empty speech. So yeah, sure, if you want to walk away from empty speech, you are more than welcome. I'm not going to make you suffer through a book or a movie or a conversation that you are not engaged in. Sound. But what I want you to understand is that there is pregnant silence and empty silence. And do not run away from pregnant silence. If you're sitting at the dinner table and something is going on and someone needs just a moment to digest what just happened, don't feel the urge that you have to, fill the vacuum.
The awkward, I would have classed that in my own head as an awkward silence, for example. You know, the way you're sitting down, you're having a conversation and someone then pauses, maybe in a natural kind of way. And that's even a 3-4 second pause. For some people, that can be very awkward if they don't realize what's
going on.
Because again, they want to fill that void, they want to fill that empty space with again, maybe small talk comes in straight away as opposed to letting that person naturally finish their thought process. Is that what you're kind of referring to in a way?
Yes, but the reason why I call it pregnant silence or empty silence is because there's just a value to it. Because if it's pregnant, you're just like, what's going to come out here? As in, you're just like, you're going to let them suffer. As in, you're going to make a joke and they're going to go, oh. And you don't feel the urge to just be like, oh no, I didn't mean to do it that way. Or I didn't mean to I'm so sorry, da-da-da-da-da. Or fill up the gap. Or you're going to make a demand. I want to go wherever. And just let it sit. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to feel like you do not need, if they're taking more than 5 seconds to make a decision, just sit. See what comes out. See what gets birthed. Just, you're waiting for this baby to come out. And so, by the way, also, because it's pregnancy, sometimes it's painful. That's the other thing. As in, yeah, sure, if you're socially awkward, just accept the fact that sometimes conversations are painful. But yet, I want a new hobby. I want to join the chess club or something like that. There's only a limited number of seats. There isn't, by the way, guys. If anyone wants to do chess club, it's just bloody book in. There's loads of empty seats. But imagine there was some kind of difficult to get into sort of social group. And you're just kind of I want to join. Here's why I want. Here's what I want to bring. Here's what I expect from you in this space. It's I'm in. What needs to happen? Exactly. If I don't leave a pause there, that becomes this very immature, sort of childish, I need, na 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 na, and it just keeps on going, and they'll keep talking until they burn out of energy, and then they're going to be frustrated that it didn't work out, whatever else. Again, I work with kids, so I'm getting you're getting a very kid-orientated
but it's interesting because
perspective.
We need to know that kind of, because they're the generations that are going to be, coming up. So, are you saying that the children, young children they're running away from these awkward silences? Or
of course,
yeah, they don't want anything to do with them. They can't compute them. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. So we are getting the first generation where the world literally revolves around them, and I mean this in the way that if their Instagram feed isn't good enough, the Instagram feed will adapt itself to make itself good enough. If the suggestions, if they're changing, so if the kid's growing up and their interests are changing and each app isn't changing with it, each app isn't finely tuned, finely accommodated to them, well, then it just gets dropped. And there is millions of dollars and euros or whatever else invested such that never happens. And it doesn't, because they're really good. All of those algorithms are remarkably good. So their world is, at this point in time, as in go check your screen time on your kid's phone or something like that, it will be a full-time job. It'll be 8 hours plus. I have a 12-year-old and I am very keen on him keeping that screen time, pure screen time, just down to a minimum. And he has it. It's between 1 and 2 hours, and I'm kind of okay, you're 12. If it was up to me, he wouldn't have a phone right now. If that was my decision, he'd be getting it in another 4 years, ladies and gents. Okay, this would be it. Okay, 16, you can do the research on it and all the rest. You do not want your kid going into a social space, going into the awkward years of teenage years where you have to talk to the boys and girls and make friends and make girlfriends or like whatever else. You do not want them doing that with a phone in their hand. Unfortunately, my son is in that, but hopefully I can do it with a bit of wisdom. Regardless. Yes, they are not able for the... this is also, by the way, this isn't just kids. This is why addiction is going up as well, as in substance abuse and all of the rest as well, is because you're hitting a rough patch of whatever it is, and people are like, I cannot deal with the rough patch, therefore I will escape in like a dizzy sort of frame, whether it's drink, alcohol, or whether it's some sort of substance, whatever it is. I'm going to essentially dizzy myself for 6 hours until this passes. Because then I'll go to sleep, whatever else, and I'll wake up the following day. It's like, okay. They're no longer looking for my help. It's too late. I can't even do it now anyway. I'm tired, or like whatever it is. But they've avoided the awkward moment. They're still alive, and it's not the best outcome, but they survived. Because they're so afraid of going through the difficult conversation of someone looking for help, someone looking for a lift somewhere, someone's looking for a lift, and they're going to have to suffer through a 2-hour conversation with that person to bring that person somewhere. And there's like, I can't, too much anxiety. And then they, actually I'm having drinks this evening, so I can't.
Isn't that crazy though?
Oh yeah.
And do you think, like, I'm not on TikTok. I've never been on TikTok. But
congrats.
I do see, obviously, that's where the attention is of the younger generation.
Yes.
TikTok is conditioning their brains to kind of like the quick 5-6 second video, and next thing they'll lose the attention. If they don't get that dopamine hit in that 5-6 seconds, they're gone to the next thing. Swipe. That's a conditioning of the brain though, that when their brain develops over time, like the younger the age, obviously I think the worse possibly if they're spending all these hours.
Exactly.
Isn't that a crazy thing though, that when they become adults, that they'll have this almost like an attention deficit for real life?
Well, it's just if every moment isn't pleasurable, if they're not getting so this is why, by the way, this is why all the kids need so much reassurance. It's because when it's difficult, when there's a struggle, they need to be told that it's okay, that it's meant to be a struggle. Because they're not used to any sort of situation where they genuinely have to, put some skin into the game and risk it and not have the reassurance and whatever else. And when you put that into like a low level job, grand, you get a manager, but like, no, I'm a manager and I'm just kind of like, by the way, for all the young people coming into the house, it's a bit of a burnout trying to reassure you all of the time about small things. Holy crap. But whatever. But yeah, you're essentially... Sorry, there's another thing on TikTok. Just by the way, can I put this out? So your brain works in a certain way where when you talk about one thing, it connects to like 10 different things. As in like, so we're TikTok just came up and this connected into like 5 different conversations that I've had about TikTok, and this is the one I'm choosing. TikTok just by design outside of China, because TikTok is in China, but it's used very differently. By design, it shows you a video of a dog. Then it shows you a video of like interior design. Then it shows you a video of someone making a mistake. Then it shows you of like whatever else. And all of these are 5-10 second videos. But your brain works where, here's a dog. Here's all the connections that I could make about, like, my mom had a dog, my granny had a dog, their name was. But the TikTok has brought me then to a person in whatever thing. Then it's brought me to interior design. It is destroying the brain's ability to make connections. That is when you're getting to attention deficit. So now the reassurance is, yes, kids not having enough kind of just face-to-face contact with an unknown sort of situation. But if you're on about like attention deficit, you are literally, we're allowing our kids to be designed in a way where the attention muscle is being destroyed. Sorry, it's not even not being built. It's actively being kind of like corrupted. And
then this brings on again that one of them points from what you're talking about now. Does this lead then to what you kind of see with this emergence of, I think the phrase is, I'm not sure, is it helicopter parents? Is this the kind of term where the parents, as you said, they're always reassuring that that they're hovering over them, if you like, all the time, because they don't want them to feel stressed from not being able to, for everything going, not for everything not going the way it should be for them. Is that what kind of this can relate to as well? Because you see this being used a lot, this like helicopter parents, where they're constantly just hovering around to make sure everything is okay. Is that where this stems from?
No, helicopter parenting is a very different
Is
thing.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So should I point out, as in, sorry, just because I know I haven't actually introduced myself properly. So I work in residential care.
Let's get back to
Get
that.
back to that. I work in residential care.
Who is this guy?
This is working with kids basically that don't fit into the foster system for whatever way, and they're living in a house all together, and it's staffed. And I'm working with kids that are 16 to 18, and it's getting them ready for coming out of the system. That's just where I'm at the moment. So this is why you might then understand the flavour of why I'm approaching these problems from the way I'm approaching them, because getting the kids in from a kid-orientated space, like this is essentially like the exact space of like initiation trials that we've gotten rid of for the last like 100 years. We don't do them anymore, Grant, but this is essentially the space I'm kind of in. It's kind of like, how do you get from the kid space into the kid space is when adults invest in them, into the adult space where they are energy providers, where they are like generators, where they are creators. They are creating a structure in society that actually holds the weight of whatever the gravity is. So building a business. Loads of people can build a business. Not all businesses survive. Everyone can build a family. Not all families, like, hold together. So building a community, building a friend group, building an interest group, whatever else. Not all of them hold, because, the structure doesn't always hold. So they're the kids that I work with. I also do breath work. I'm not doing it at the moment, but I'll be resuming that in, say, like May, April, something like that, here in Boyle. So if anyone wants to do breath work, let me know. And then I also do communication workshops that I cannot sell, simply for the fact that I would bore you to death if I went on about virtues and, hey, by the way, let's come in contact with the mystery. So I won't try to, but they are on every Wednesday on the computer. So that's kind of my approach to all of these problems, all of these spaces.
And you have qualifications to...
Oh, sorry, yeah. I've a master's in psychology. I did that. So I did my undergrad in Galway, and I did my master's then down in Limerick.
I kind of thought before we started the podcast, and we had that long talk beforehand, it was like, there's some training here in psychology from the stuff we were talking about on your end. I didn't know until you told me now what your qualification is. So
all right,
it all adds up.
Yeah. I also do videos on YouTube just for trying to talk about this stuff, simply as an exercise of trying to learn how to talk about it, because being able to read it and being able to study it is very different than me being able to communicate it. But what I would say is that my thesis in my master's was on perspective shifting. So when I'm working with the kids, what I want from the kids is for them to be able to give me an argument of whatever they want from 3 different angles. That's it. If they can do that, I'm sold. I'm like, hey, by the way, this is what I want. Here's the reason why you won't give it. And here's the compromise that I think, like, that's a simple sort of way of doing it. But if you say, I want to meet up with my friends because I'm trying to build a community, because after care and all the rest, this is who I'm going to be with. These are going to be my friends, and we're on a mission, we're on an adventure, we're doing whatever else. And I know I'm under a certain age. So you need to get like approval, you need to get like whatever else. I get that. But the thing is that like in like 5-10 years time, this is going to be really valuable for me. Holy crap, you just gave me the most mature argument, and you think I have a foot to stand on after that? Not a hope. Neither does a social worker, neither does anyone else. You've just moved every bit of machinery out of the way to put your will into the world. If I can train the kids to do that, that's the mission. So that's what so actually that's a really good segue back into helicopter parenting, because that's not what helicopter parenting is.
Right, okay. Because I've heard that term and I just thought, is that what it is when you're referring to about reassuring kids all the time?
No, helicopter parenting is a term from the last, say, 20, maybe 30 years. And it is your, Gen X sort of parenting style. So everyone between the ages of, I'm going to butcher this, 45 to 60, roughly, somewhere along there. That cohort tended to raise their kids in a certain way where there was no playing in the estate. There was no kind of like going onto the roads and stuff like that. It was go to summer camp, keep them busy. There was loads of money around, like, it's Celtic Tiger, it was the Boom, it was everything else. It's like, yeah, summer camps, and go off and go on trips and go on like whatever else. But don't play on the streets because that's too dangerous. And like, don't take candy from strangers and like all of those, like it was very just protectionist. It came from a good source, but it did result in kids being like, am I doing it right? Which wasn't again, everything's a trade-off. So everything as in like, yeah, you gave them the best possible sort of like, they had all 10 fingers, all 10 toes, you did great, you protected them. But in that, you also kind of crushed their ability to face a risk, period. What the kind of parenting style that's going on at the moment is much more of a into nature sort of thing. You'll notice that like okay, so here's one, the popularity of all these caravans and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Okay, so you're still not getting to go out play in the street. You still don't know your neighbors. There's still the kind of dissolution, like the kind of breaking apart of communities. No offense, Boyle, sorry. As in like, by the way, Boyle's still a great community. I don't exactly know what it is, but you're in a world where communities themselves are being kind of dissolved or going online or whatever else, but you're not getting the embodied communities that you would have had in Ireland like 50 or so years ago. So what the parenting style now is that you go off in a caravan and then you get to play with the kind of local kids or like whatever is in the caravan. Then you get to go out into nature and you get to go into the forest or whatever else. Now the only problem is that the kids now are building relationships and losing them at a rate that we don't recognize. So yeah, for one summer you had a best friend and then you lost them. And then for one summer you had like a network and there was, or you had a friend who was interested in badminton and dear Lord, that was actually a lot of fun. Or you had a friend that was interested in chess and dear Lord, that was a lot of fun. But then the following year you get a different friend because you go to a different place or the other person goes to a different place or whatever else it is. But you're getting this constant migration, constant movement, constant churn of new faces, always new faces, never, no kind of withstanding faces. And that's partially because we still refuse to live within like 5 miles of our parents, usually.
Interesting that is, yeah, it's interesting and it makes sense what you said because you do see that where you have a summer friend, whereas you mightn't have and you'd have a great couple of weeks or whatever it is with that friend, but yet you wouldn't be as friendly with maybe your neighbours back home or down the road if that's the case. So that makes sense what you said there.
Yeah. And again, this isn't, it's not black or white. As in like, you still have your school friends. You still have your faces there. But I'm trying to say is that you are, put it into like percentage wise. The percentage of new faces that are being churned around is just really high. As in, so like, yeah, sure, you have like a solid, 30 people in your class or more. And you have a solid, like say, group of like 5-6 friends. Sure, no worries at all. But every summer you go off and you make a new friend and then it's gone. And then if your parents, this is all presuming that your parents don't move because everyone's moving like half the time. At least, well, okay, whatever, depends. It's just the quantity. Kids kind of thrive on like a really strong, predictable thing. So predictable that they can ignore it and then be so focused on themselves that, they can find themselves. That's essentially the teenage years. But if you make the environment less predictable, you make loads of new faces, always new faces, then it just kind of undermines that. And we'll see how it plays out. Again, there's only trade-offs.
Yeah.
So again, it could be that they're exposed to like 100 different hobbies and stuff like that. We now have like basketball teams up in Sligo and stuff. My son's in it and he loves it. And he's getting inspired by like Kobe Bryant and stuff like that. And you're just like, yeah, boos don't block dunks. Love that phrase. Holy crap. But, old school, it would have been just GAA, just hurling, and maybe soccer if your teacher allowed it.
Right.
My primary school teacher did not allow it. Oh, that was funny.
And Nathan, then you mentioned there about breathwork, cold plunges.
Yeah,
I think meditation probably go under that bracket as well, because you mentioned something to me earlier about what's called perspective shifting. I've never heard that term before. I presume meditation, breathwork, cold plunges fall into that bracket of, is it, you'd be changing your internal state. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So
tell us a bit about that perspective shifting from your point of view.
Sure. I think this is wisdom, essentially. If you want to be a wise person, we all have a certain amount of wisdom. If you strive to have more wisdom, then you have to first imagine what it would be like to have more wisdom. So the imagination, just by definition, is built into this. If you are a rational person, if you do not believe in any... Okay, so here we go. Here's one for Ireland. Seeing as we're somehow getting more spiritual and yet we're still absurdly allergic to the Catholic Church. I don't know if this is relevant for Boyle, so I'm so sorry I might be going on a tangent. This might be me living out my online kind of diet. But it seems, especially like even amongst friends and stuff like that, that people are searching for, like, you know, they want to matter. They want to be connected to something bigger than themselves. And like ABC, anything but Christianity. And so for that, they kind of base it on rationality. Then they say, like, you know, if I can't prove it, if science doesn't touch it, then I'm just going to, like, I won't take any steps outside of that. So everything has to be rational. Okay, so to all of the rational listeners here and to all of my rational friends, if you're a rational person, it's only rational that you want to be more rational. Yes? Perfect. Then, to be more rational, you have to imagine what it's like to be more rational. You have to aspire to be that person. You have to just, what would a more rational person do in this situation? Perfect. Okay, well then you've immediately undermined rationality because you've introduced imagination. Imagination isn't rational. Imagination is exploratory. It's creative. It's what would be if. Science can't prove it. I'm just using my best guess. That's what imagination is. It gives you a lived perspective of what the future might hold, but it is not scientific by any means. So once we take that turn, once we turn that corner, and I'm so sorry for anyone that's already turned that corner, or for anyone who does believe in like a team spirit or something like that, and maybe a spirit that's bigger than a team spirit, like a community spirit or a nation spirit, or God forbid, a spirit that's bigger than that. This is all just mumbo jumbo, and you're just like, dear Lord, you're overanalyzing something tiny here. Just like have faith, like have a bit of hope, have a bit of positivity. For those people, I'm sorry for making you suffer through this. But for all the rational people, that's actually a really like living, breathing sort of argument against them. So for that, if we reintroduce imagination, then we reintroduce this state shift, this perspective shift, this whatever else. It's like, okay, if I'm having a problem, so let's give a few examples first. So cold plunge is like a shot of coffee. It's like just pure like adrenaline, just I'm awake, as in you've never felt so awake. Meditation is feeling very centered, as in like no busy thoughts. So the purpose of meditation isn't, so there's a difference, please. There's a difference between meditation and contemplation. Contemplation is the Stoic practice of like view from above. What would, or like the Dalai Lama, like what would the world be like if I loved strangers in the same way that I love my family? And you're trying to have this like unconditional positive love for everyone in the world. It's a beautiful practice. I encourage anyone to do it, but it's not meditation. Meditation is any thought that comes in. I just put an ing word to the process. I'm worrying, I'm fantasizing, I'm stressing, I'm anticipating, whatever it is, and return to your breath, or return to the candle, or return to the point in the wall, or whatever else it is, but you're returning to a single thing that doesn't hold anything really. It's just trying to empty the mind and really just sit in the moment without any stress. So there are two states. And then you have a state of, say, like yoga or some embodiment like Tai Chi or Qigong or like any of your kind of embodiment sort of things. Okay, there's three states. And I won't give any more examples. That's enough for the moment. And it's just like, okay, you're stressed at work. Grand. Do you need a shot of coffee? Do you need to quieten your mind? Do you need to be in your body? Are you getting too abstract? You've been sitting at a computer all day. You're fidgeting with numbers. You're fidgeting with like, oh, this person, oh, that person, oh, this person. And they're all living in your imagination for free. They're living in your mind, and yet they're 1,000 miles away from you. As in like, you're afraid of them, but there is no chance that they come and get you. So in that situation, quieten the mind, or just come back to the body and just be like, yeah, the body's feeling stressed. And if I'm being honest, in my immediate surroundings, there is no reason for me to be stressed right now. Okay, now I can go back and I can talk to that person as a real person and not be a pushover, not be defensive, not be whatever else it is, but I have access to that mode because I'm asking myself, which mode, which imagination, which version of me do I want to use? So this is perspective shifting. This is what I think this is full on wisdom. As in, the ability to be wise is to understand my perspective, your perspective, what a kid might say, what an adult might say, at the moment, what the audience might think, and how this is tracking.
And so then just a kind of a question just came to me there then. If you have the ability to have these multiple different perspectives,
Yep.
would that not then create inner conflicts internally then within that individual? Or would that be like, how would that work? Or what happens there if you have all these different perspectives?
100%. Of course. There's going to be internal conflicts but that's presuming that you think that there's no internal conflicts already. As in, if you want to honor your mother and if you want to honor your father, you already have an internal conflict.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, your mom says, I love you no matter what. And you are just you're pure perfection. Like, oh my God, your smile, your laugh, your whatever else. You are the child that just has graced this earth, and I'm so happy that you're here. Great. Mother's love is like, that's Mother Mary. That's like the ideal love. That's the pure feminine love for a child. It's beautiful. And no matter what feminine love you have, it'll never live up to that. And you have to come to terms with that. You still need to embody the archetype. So, and now I'm getting into language, so I won't. But then you get the father. The father says, hey, by the way, you got it. As in, like, yeah, life's tough, but you got it. As in, like, you're so well able, you are a monster. You are a fiend. You are a warrior. You are strong. You are capable. You are so well able for this that I believe in you. Okay, in that, are you perfect? No. You're able to get through it. You will be transformed. You will have scars. You will have pain, but you will get through it. You will just thrive. Okay. Apologies. That is the father's love. Okay. So in the situation where you are at work and you're stressed, it's like, okay, am I perfect right now? Or can I suffer through? It's like, there's already, like, just by nature of being human, there is internal conflict. And we already mentioned then here, like, okay, so here's one for everyone. Here's me like bringing in the virtues and stuff. Are you an authentic person? We've already done this, so we can kind of speed track it. If you're an authentic person, are you more authentic now than you were 10 years ago? Or are you more authentic now than you were as a teenager when you were trying to impress everyone, when you were trying to do everything? It's like, yeah, I'm a bit more authentic now. It's like, do you think you'll be more authentic in the future? Do you want to be more authentic in the future? Has it brought beauty into your life? It's like, yeah, like, I want to be more of me. I never want to be something I'm not. And I want to learn more about myself. So yeah, I'm going to bring more of me into the world. Perfect. Okay, are you a humble person? Yeah, hopefully, trying to be, sure. Are you more humble than you were as a teenager? Damn straight, teenagers are not humble people. They're always trying, and they will lie through their teeth to have a bit of social status, because especially for the poor boys, there's nothing more painful than being a boy with absolutely no status. And do you think you're going to be more humble as you get older, as you get wiser? When you're 60, do you think you're going to be, it's like, yeah, the world's big. It's like, yeah, no worries. Okay, well then, authenticity is listening to the inside voice. Humility is listening to the outside voice. And we're somehow developing both. They're both getting stronger, but they're both opposing forces. You can't do both at the same time. Which one are you listening to right now? It's impossible. Are you assertive or are you accepting? Are you allowing me to assert all of this, all these theories, all these ideas in my head? Are you allowing me to assert them, and are you accepting them? Or are you kind of like, half accepting them and then like, just like, no, he's wrong here. It's very hard to juggle all of these things. We are just born of internal conflict, which I would argue is beautiful. I say that it's like music, that in the tension is where the music's played. If you try to get rid of the tension, you do not get music. So if you're asking me then for these perspective shifts and stuff like that, yes, you are opening yourself up to more conflict, but you are making yourself a bigger and broader and more capable, mature, confident person. So here's one, for example, as in like the more structure you have in your life, the more freedom to be creative you have. As in like if you're a creative person and you're waiting for inspiration to strike, you are a slave to your emotions. You're a slave to whatever way the wind blows. If you are structured, I get up every morning at 6, 7, whatever o'clock, and I do an hour of writing, I do an hour of painting, I do whatever else it is. I have a certain food, I have a certain ritual around it, whatever it is, but I get it done. I turn up, I report for duty every day, and I pray that the muse blesses me with her presence. It's like, okay, no worries. The world goes to crap, like, the tanks start rolling in and all the rest. It's like, hey, it's 8 o'clock. I'm doing my morning ritual. I'm doing my writing.
Yeah.
There's some great stories that come out of like horrible situations, like the Nazis and stuff like that, where people were still writing, like Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl's written the whole way through it, or them still holding their religious practices in secret. The Jews had a court for whether God was just in putting them through this, and they decided that he wasn't, and then they went straight into like fasting and blessing or whatever, and all of these different things. So yeah, the more of one you get, the more of one pole you get, the more of the other you tend to get. So take for example our 3 state changes. The coffee shot of a cold plunge. No worries. You will find that if you have that more often, you will not get stressed out because you'll realize what a shot of adrenaline feels like, and you will be able to relax better. If you then, so the other thing is though, that one's paired with meditation. So if I'm like, all strung up and like, I'm really stressed out and all the rest, it's like, I don't need to think of the cold plunge right now. It's like, yeah, this is roughly what it's like. I'm ready. I'm built. I'm warrior. I'm going to endure this. It's like, what I need then when I go home is meditation. So you have these, it's essentially what's called an ecology of practices. You have a sitting practice and you have a movement practice. You have an individual practice. You have a collective practice. You have, a traditional practice where you subserve to something that came before you, and you have a creative practice, something that just comes straight out of you. You have these poles, and the more that you stretch them, the more frequency you can get, whatever way you want to phrase it. So frequency would be for vibration, stretch would be for tension. Like whatever, I really don't care about the words here.
Yeah.
As long as the kind of the communication's coming across, it is just the more these poles are pulled, the more music you get, the more play, the more fun, the more kind of exposure to all aspects of life you can get, or just the more wise you are.
And did you, when you talk about them breath work, meditation, cold plunges, having those kind of state changes, what about saunas? Would saunas be another tool on the belt, or is that different? Is that wouldn't fall into the same category? Because people can meditate in saunas. Yeah, that would be fine. That's another state change that you would factor in. Okay, so it depends how you use it. So if you're going into a sauna and you're, sure, here I can guarantee you. So this is me talking purely from my own perspective, but it seems like that women and men use saunas differently. They also use the shower differently. Trying to get into a shower after a woman is impossible because they have it absolutely scalding us. I'm like, what is with that? So there's a joke. But so for a man, that might be more of an endurance meditation, and for a woman, that might be more of a relaxing meditation. So again, there's you need to be kind of conscious about what the actual state change is for you. A cold plunge might not be the shot of coffee for you. A cold plunge might be surrendering into whatever it is, surrendering into a suffering state. And you're just kind of like, just let go, just breathe, just stop trying to fight it, just, it's going to be over in like whatever it is, 2, 3, 5 minutes, whatever it is, just breathe, just focus on the breath. That could be more of a meditation than meditation itself. That could be how you meditate, like whatever it is. So the only thing then I would say is, if you really want to do like the whole like biohacking, optimizing and all of the rest, what you can do is you can pair these. You can classically condition yourself. You can do Pavlov's dog. Ring the bell, feed the dog. Ring the bell, feed the dog. Ring the bell, and the dog will salivate. Okay, so if you introduce a certain smell, so saunas often have this. They'll often have like some sort of sandalwood or something like that. If that is like an important state for you, get some sandalwood. Find it somewhere and just be able to like rub it into your hands and be able to smell it, so that when you're having like a day and you're at the office or something like that and you're just kind of like,
I'm enduring, and I can endure, like I feel like a beast when I endure in the saunas, or like go into the sauna and then you jump into the ocean afterwards, whatever else. You feel on top of the world. Oh my God, that's an amazing feeling. Like peak experiences all the way. And by the way, that's another thing. And if you were talking to Gary and Mark, I can guarantee they were talking about peak experiences. Oh yeah,
it came up, yeah,
exactly. Because what you don't want again is this flattening of the landscape. Because you want peaks and valleys, which does mean that you're exposing yourself to vulnerable moments of just, again, internal conflict. It's like, yeah, there's a weight to this. Being able, like, I'm pulling myself in two different directions to really face into the love I have for both of my parents. It's like, it's just a struggle. It's like, I am as good as I'm perfect the way I am, but I want to strive for more.
and then with the perspective shifting, if you have these multiple perspectives, couldn't that lead then to, I'm just trying to think here, like analysis by paralysis then? Or sorry, paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
That leaves this like, okay, what way do I go? And you do nothing. Does that happen? Or, like if you're trying to get those different perspectives, I know for me, if you have, I'm saying too many choices sometimes can be a bad thing because you end up making no choice.
Sure.
Trying to put that into the...
Not if you have this language of polarity, or if you have this language of tension, or this language of frequency. Like, I really don't mind anything that goes from one side to another. Pendulum swings. I don't like, use what you want. I don't mind. But essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to find balance. So if you're in a moment of high stress, okay, in my ecology, what is it that is high stress, so I can identify this? And you're just like, yeah, this feels like that. Okay, what do I do? So if I'm in like the sauna and I'm just enduring, what do? I focus just my breath. Focus just on my breath. Try to meditate. Try to quieten the mind. Trying to, like, that thing that tells me to get out, thing that tells me to, like, I'm not good enough, like whatever else it is. But that's the polar opposite. If then, alternatively, I'm in a moment where I am bored and I'm finding myself like scrolling and I'm just like, this is doing nothing. What do I need? I need to find something to endure. I need to like re-engage. It's like, what would be the most exciting thing right now? What would get my heart rate going a wee bit? Maybe it's going for a run. Maybe it's doing like whatever else, but like what, like that's the question. So if you have it where I've been sitting down all day and I'm feeling itchy, it's like, yeah, I need movement. I've been talking to people all day. It's like, yeah, I need some time alone. I need to meditate. Or I need like just a coffee, or sorry, like tea, maybe something a bit more relaxed, like whatever else. Or I've just been alone and I'm just kind of like, the world's going to crap and like, I'm catastrophizing and I've doom scrolled and I've working and it's suffering and I've no reassurance because like, I was helicopter parented and like, I've been using TikTok and all the rest and I have no ability to suffer through any of this unknown and da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like, what do I need right now? It's like, I need a collective practice. I need a community. I need a tribe. Okay. Talk to like voice calls are okay. Maybe Zoom call might be a bit better. In person, can we actually get around and just be like, it's absurd, isn't it? And they'd be like, yeah, it's crazy. And they, holy crap, you see it too? It's like, yeah, oh my God, I feel so much more relaxed because now I get to share my suffering. I get to share my burden, whatever else it is. Or so last one, if I am under the thumb of a manager and they are just squeezing me because they're just like, you have to do this, and I'm being told what to do, what I need is creativity. I need a moment. It's like, hey, by the way, I'm taking an hour out and I'm going to paint, I'm going to write, I'm going to do whatever else it is. But the polar opposite of you right now is creativity because for whatever reason, my manager is being, sterile. It's just like, do this and get rid of every emotion that isn't this. Or the alternative is if you are lost, if you are overly creative and you have no structure, it is to find some sort of tradition or some sort of structure or routine and subject yourself to it. Just being like, okay, I surrender myself. I surrender my creative soul to this routine, knowing that it will keep burning bright. It'll not go away. I will always have both sides. So if you approach it with this polarity, then no, you don't necessarily get paralysis by analysis.
Yeah,
you actually get around it.
And then people can learn this to
100%.
develop this. Yeah.
Oh yeah. By the way, this is what all the religions were. Just originally.
Right.
As in, like, the reason that we're all lost is because all of the houses for it. By the way, no argument for religion. If you're not religious, this isn't trying to convert you or anything like that. It is just the tools. They call them psychotechnologies. So psycho for like mental or whatever else. Technology for just a tool. Exactly. So praying is a psychotechnology. You are praying to a future self. I wish I was more humble. I wish this or whatever else. Can you please give me the strength for this? And you're imagining in yourself, like, what would it be like if he did give me the strength? What would this actually happen? If I am singing in a choir, if I'm singing alongside other people, that is a collective practice. We are all harmonizing. My voice is blending into theirs and I'm caught up in a team spirit. All of, like, there's so many of these, but we have destroyed the homes. So, like, meditation is, McMindfulness meditation was what they call it now. It's the Western meditation. It's no longer in a like with the Buddhist. You are now to meditate so that you can be more productive in work. Essentially, that's what we do now. The reason that you do cold plunges to be more productive. The reason that you do a sauna is to be more productive. Everything is for the service of being more productive. The original home for all of these things was religion.
Interesting.
Or some sort of sacred space. Some space where it was not the real world. It was a dream space. It was an alternative space. It was, like, you know, you'd put up the walls. It's like, yeah, no mundanity, no everyday here. This is only for something bigger than. And again, using our imagination for all the rational people out there.
So you work with these techniques with the children, is it?
Yeah. Again, you're trying to, like, because, like, this is a whole thing. So, like, okay, so some people that are listening to this, if they are older and they have some of these practices, this, like, analyzing this just won't even make sense. They'd be just like, yeah, this is just how I live. As in, like, of course I have, like, alone time, and of course I have collective time. Okay, but for the kids, they just have alone time. They have to consciously choose collective time because they can entertain themselves on their phone ad nauseum all day. For this, like, meditation, yeah, of course I have a quiet moment. I go for a walk in the forest. I've always done this. I can name some of the plants. I love this particular tree, whatever else it is. For the older generations, they already have this because they were brought up in it. Like, Ireland, actually, by the way, Ireland, for all that is kind of catastrophic in the world, for all the change that is in the world, Ireland is as close to a healthy headspace as any other country. And so let me put this in into terms. Most other, how to phrase this? In the 1980s, before the Celtic boom, basically, everyone lived, like, connected to the earth. It was a hyper-religious time. It was really Catholic and all of the rest. But you had strong senses of community. You had strong senses of tradition. Overly strong. I know, we had loads of travesties. We have loads of stories in Ireland why we don't like what the church did. Whatever way you phrase it, then if you're in the church or out of the church, you'll still agree that you don't like what the church did. But the soil, the land was rich. You had community, you had practices, you had intergenerational transfer where your granny was in contact with the grandkids. You had, like, loads of these things. Most other countries lost that way before us. They industrialized way sooner. They moved around, they urbanized way sooner. So for us, our grandparents still have that very healthy sort of, like, you know, again, they have moments alone. They go for walks in nature. They have community practices where, yeah, of course they meet up and they go for dinners and they go for, like, whatever else. And they have some sort of tradition, maybe some sort of creativity, whether it's jokes or whether it's, like, you know, whatever the creativity is, but they'll have something. Maybe they don't have it perfect, but they have something. But I'm telling you now that for the kids, they have none of it. They can spend all of their time alone. Which is, so no collective practice. They can spend all of their time contemplating, which means no meditation, no emptying of the mind, and just sitting in silence. They have no traditions. It is pure creativity. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, whatever. And it can just be sitting. They don't need to stand. Why? I can Uber or I can get whatever, like, food delivered to me. There is no reason why. So they have no contact with that. So yes, when I'm on about these psychotechnologies, I do have to be quite conscious trying to bring them to the kids and trying to say, like, you know, this is what a good life is. And then but they still look at me like with, like, 10 different heads. So the only approach that I have for this is I plant seeds and I don't get to see if they grow. I've no idea. As in, like, whether this talk on the benefits of meditation, whether this talk on how you can use a smell to kind of trick yourself into something, I've no idea what sticks. But if it sticks, great. The one thing that I am kind of hard-nosed about is this ability to argue their point from like 3 or 4 different perspectives, because that is what makes a powerful person. So if they want something, whether it is in a relationship, making their needs known, here's my need. I understand that you are a different type of person. You are a different thing. And yet I see the future as something else. There's 3 different perspectives. Or in the past, we have done this. So in the past, when we first met, we went on date nights all of the time. It was beautiful. Now we don't do dates anymore. In the future, like when I'm 60 or something like that, I'd be really sad if I still didn't do any date nights. Like, I know we're going through like a hard moment at the moment because like we're building a business, we're doing something. There's seasons for everything, I get it. But if I'm like 60 and we're still not doing date nights, I'd be sad. So there's 3 different perspectives. Now let's start the conversation. And it's a way better conversation. Where if I only just give one, then you get into like, you know, power struggles, you get into all the suffering, you get into just the complaining. So that's the one I'm hard-nosed about. Everything else, I'm just kind of trying to drop seeds on, like, you know, if you can, like, you know, play with the perspective you have, see it from the other side.
And then, Nathan, another point touched on was collective sense making.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that for those that don't know, including myself. What is that, collective sense making?
Okay, so this is like this is a little bit in the weeds, and yet it is the most alive thing at the moment. This is what's going to cause trouble as AI comes in. This is exactly what we're losing in the generation that's coming up at the moment. And yet it still only lives in academic circles. We have not really tackled into this properly worldwide, just period. So collective sense making is at its easiest level to understand, it's team spirit. So you'll have been in some sort of situation where, like, you know, the team had like a second wind, you know, as in like went out in the second half and just woohoo. Now, did the coach give an inspiring speech? Imagine he didn't. Imagine the team just went into the changing room and just suffered, just like that was awful. And the coach just let them. And then they went back out and they had a second wind. Like, who decided that? It wasn't one person. No one person could have. You can have a captain or something like that tries to motivate. You can have a coach that tries to motivate, but there's a team spirit. And if they don't catch the team, like they can catch like 1 or 2 individuals, but if they don't catch the team, then it doesn't matter. They don't catch. So there's just a collective sort of spirit there. Okay. So once you get a collective spirit, then you get like mob mentality and you get a collective spirit going wrong. You get every problem.
Groupthink.
Yes.
Right.
So we've lived through that with COVID. We've learned from it how bad it can go, because as bad as COVID was, it was not what happened in the 20th century. Whether you go for communism or Nazism or any of those things, but that's a groupthink that we do not want. Okay. So how do we get collective sense making that appreciates tension, that appreciates the other side? So that is what collective sense making is. It is not a groupthink where everyone agrees on the one answer. It is where the differences truly are, and I do not mean in some like DIE, diversity, inclusion and equity or whatever else. I don't mean in that sort of way that, like, you know, politically we need this percentage of black people, this percentage of women, this percentage of people with physical disabilities, or like whatever else. It's not that. It's a difference in thinking style. As in, so maybe there's like a difference between men and women, like, sure. And maybe there's like a lived difference between someone like with a physical disability and all of the rest. But if they're all financially conservative and you were talking about business, then you are not getting any sort of diversity. You need to have the liberal there that's like, you know, but what about the poor person? Or like, you know, what about the worker or whatever else? You need genuine tension on the point that you're talking about. If you want, for anyone that wants to go research it, there is a Wason selection task. It is a questionnaire essentially, and you can give it to individuals reliably from university students, people who are well educated, high up on the high IQ sort of level. They will score 10% on this because it's designed so that you score 10%. That's how it's designed, of course. Okay, then you put them into groups of 4 and you get a success rate of 80 to 82%. Now that is not 4 times 10. That doesn't mean that you're just getting an addition. That means you're getting a multiple. Exactly. Which means that, okay, I am seeing my perspective, I am seeing your perspective, and then we are starting to get creative space in between where we're seeing potentials that we could never see on our own. That is what collective sense making is. So, it is super important. This is what like a brainstorm is for a creative person. This is what like, a business meeting is when they go right, not the 90% that are useless, but the 10% that actually come up with something. And this is the one space that AI cannot survive in. It is the only space that AI cannot survive in, potentially. It will take steps into it, for sure. Again, so before we had this podcast, I was like, the one thing that I'm excited by with AI is the fact that I can do a dinner table talk. And I can have like, Spinoza and Nietzsche and Plato at a dinner table, and we can talk about the forms, and we can talk about, what are we striving towards? What is an ideal? How, can we even strive to an ideal? Like all of these questions that I would surely bore my friends with. They'd be like, I swear, Nathan, if you talk about this one more time, I'm literally gone. I'm out. Which they have done. And I love them for it too. But I'm really excited for that. But they cannot do this collective sense making because they will try to solve it too fast. They will try to synthesize it too fast. Your perspective, their perspective. Okay, here's the answer. Because that's the model. Where if you have say 4 humans around, and it's like, here's my idea, and then you get a bad idea. So here's my idea for the business. And I think we should I don't know, get a mascot and make him dance on the street with a sign or something like that. And everyone's just like, that is the worst idea. The mascot would only last for like a day or two. Like we're in Ireland, it would get destroyed in no time. It's a really bad idea. And yet that bad idea might just be the necessary step that someone else could take like a 1, 2, 3 jump to get something. Because it wasn't logical. They just used their imagination. They did what they call a dirty pitch. That's what they say over in Hollywood. No bad ideas, just throw out everything you got. And even if none of them are useful, one of them might just be the kind of toehold that you need to make the jump for an actually good idea. If you get AI into that space, it will only give you logical answers. It'll never give you the stupid answer that makes the kind of insight that shifts the whole thing. So one example of an insight is you're in an argument with your wife, and she's really angry. And you're just like, dear, what is up with you? Do you need to eat? Are you hungry? Is something going on at work? Why are you so angry? Like, just the fangs are out, the spikes are there, and you're just like, holy crap. And then either you get kind of like, maybe I'll just give her some time on her own, or maybe you get a bit defensive. It's like, how dare you talk to me like this? No. And like, whatever it is. And then you have the insight and you're just like, shit, like I can see it in her eyes. She's hurt. She's trying to protect herself because something happened. Something really happened. You're just like, did I say something? Like, what did I say? Why do you feel alone right now? Why do you feel, and it shifts. Like that is a shift that AI cannot do because it's not in the problem space. It is so far outside the problem space and it changes everything. So you put that again into business, put that into like whatever else. That stuff can only happen in collective sense making when it's structured the right way. And when it has this human fallibility, these human stupidities, idiosyncrasies in it. It doesn't happen anywhere else.
So then, Nathan, why are humans then more rational in groups as a whole? What does that say then about our cognitive abilities if we're more rational as a group? Because what you said there about the 10%, and then if you're in a group of 4, you get 80-something%.
80 to 82.
Right. Like that kind of tells me then we work better in packs, I feel like, groups.
Yes.
As opposed to individual. Would that then be the same way as if you had just, say, for example, 4 Einsteins? You're going to get multiples instead of 1 Einstein. Is that kind of the way?
No, because Einstein was one of a kind.
Right.
4 of Einstein would get you 40%. You need Einstein with like Newton. Einstein had
Right.
that. If you didn't have Newton, Einstein wouldn't be an Einstein.
So you have then you have those differences then in cognitive abilities.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Think of it this way. So just think of it with 2. So by the way, this does work best in 3s and 4s. For collective sense making, it's big enough that you're getting multiple perspectives. Oh, okay. There's 2 things that I want to say. One is with your wife. This is what a genuine different perspective is. Again, this is the mother's love, father's love, like whatever way it is. You will say, we need to get here. This is what I'm willing to suffer. These are the tasks that need to be done, task orientated. And like, I'll try and enjoy myself along the way. Where typically, okay, now I'm talking archetypally now. I'm talking on the stereotype. Yes, 100%. So apologies to the, whatever percentage that don't fall into this. And I'm sorry that I even have to hedge my bet when I talk about this. Dear Lord, we can talk in archetypes. But the feminine, or even your more feminine men, will prioritize the feelings of the group. And then how do we get there first? Or how do we get there second? So like, is everyone together first? As in, so you just rock up into a room. Hey, we need to get, that's going to be the masculine sort of side. Again, archetypally. And the feminine side is like, how is everyone? And they check in first. How's the emotion? How's the like whatever else? Then can we move? So that's the just different people genuinely see the world differently. Like without a doubt. Here's the fun part. Okay, so if you are in a conversation one-on-one, there is a me right now. There is a you right now, and you are getting like a certain version of me because you're kind of, I'm trying to put on my best self, like whatever else. I'm getting a certain version of you. I'm getting the podcast version of you, whatever that is. And together they're kind of, but this isn't like, it's not the entirety of me. And it's really not even a version of me I could create if you weren't the person pulling it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that there's your kind of, well, okay, there's your Trinity, if you want to go full on Catholic. That's your like Father, Son, Holy Spirit thing. The Holy Spirit's meant to be the spirit between. But, and again, just use that as a way of understanding the world. You don't need to use that in use it however you want. But if you then include a third person, here's where it gets really fun. This is where your collective sense making really comes in, because you get to be a wiser person. Why are we more rational in groups than we are individually? Because if right now we had a third person talking here as well, I would have a version of me that you were drawing out. And then I would also have a version of me that they were drawing out. So now I have 2 versions of me, and I am trying to juggle between the 2. This puts me in a position behind the 2 where I am trying to be like way more rational, because I'm having these 2 different versions of myself. I genuinely feel I am genuinely both of these people. And yet when I meet both of these people at the same time, I have to like pull back and I'm like, those 2 versions of myself don't go together. So like, okay, so when you introduce your like partner to your parents for the first time, like everyone's gone through this. Okay, so for your partner, you have been a very playful person. You've been a very like, tongue in cheek, or you've been a very go get 'em sort of person. But your parents saw you the whole way through your stupid years, and the whole way like, he's my baby boy and like whatever else. They have a version of you that only they have. And then you bring those 2 worlds together. And you're like, oh crap, I'm the baby boy and I'm the like whatever playful stud, or whatever way you kind of view it. Dear Lord. Stepping on minefields here, left, right, and center. But you have those 2 versions of yourself, and then you pull back, and then you really get to see it's just like, oh, okay. You can, this is literally how you kind of have a more mature relationship with your parents. Is you're just like, especially when you have kids yourself, and you see yourself teach your kid a lesson, and you can have taught your kid that lesson, like, hey, by the way, like, either you're fine and it's okay and like, don't worry about it, but then you do that in front of your mom and your dad, and you remember a time when they did it to you and you were hurt by it, and you're just like, oh, never would have come out otherwise, because you never would have been in that superposition. So what they call it, a superposition behind the 2, where these 2 versions, I love my dad, but I hate the way that he did this as a kid, or when I was a kid or something like that. And here I am with my son or something like that, teaching him to be like, responsible with money, or that he can do it, or go play and get outside, go out into this. Like there's the common one. My being told to get out of the house, get away from the screens and go outside for a bit of running around and all the rest. It's like, dear Lord, I hated when they did that. And I hate when they told me like to clean up the room and like all of this stuff. It's like, I'm a kid, I'm meant to have fun. And then here I am with my kid and I'm just like, I swear, child, if you do not get out of the house right now, like I'm going to explode. And then you're just like, Mom, Dad, like, how did you do it? You know, and again, you get this, there's the more rational, because again, you never could have got there just talking to your parents. You could have understood them, but you wouldn't have got to that place where you felt it. Like embodied, I performed as this character towards one person and it clashed with the old character towards like my parents. And you're just like, okay, yeah, I got to let that one go, don't I?
Mm.
That's why we're more rational in groups.
Okay.
It works like as in over time, it works very strongly. It's very clear when you do it with parents and with kids, but even when it's just groups, you talk to a very academic person and you talk to a very creative person. And you're like, yeah, I'm an academic person and I'm a creative person. And you're just like, yeah, I can totally juggle both. And then you have a conversation with both of them at the same time. And you're just like, I talk creative and the academic person thinks I'm a woo-woo person. I talk academic and the creative person thinks I'm a boring old fart. And you're just like, okay, I have to really take myself serious here. I have to think this one through. Okay, here's my genuinely held belief. And you immediately become a more forceful character. You immediately become more of a character than you were beforehand. So now, like, as in, if you want me to talk about my own stuff, like I do this talking about the virtues where we talk about, like my favorite example is if you talk about like authenticity, listening to the inside voice. Okay, so like exactly what is authenticity? Listening to the inside voice. Okay, and we've already circled around this. Actually, it'll make sense immediately. If I'm authentic, I ignore everyone else. I ignore what they think. I ignore their perspective. I ignore whatever, and this is who I authentically am. This is the voice that wants to come out. This is the song that I want to write. This is like, just ignore everyone. Great. And then someone else is going to say, yeah, but if you don't sing that song in front of people, then like if you just keep it inside, it doesn't really survive. It doesn't work. So there has to be some contact with the outside world. Okay, great. That's person number 2. Yeah. And then you've person number 3 saying, well, me being authentic with my mom is different than me being authentic with my son. And you're just like, yeah, that's remarkably true. Come back to the first one, walled garden, ignore everyone else, just listen to the inside voice. Yeah. Makes sense? Okay. Contact with the world? Yeah. Co-writing it with the world? Yeah. Walled garden? Yeah. Contact? Yeah. Co-writing. And you start circling around and you get to this space where it's just like, okay, I have never felt closer to authenticity than in this moment, because it's the mystery. It's the thing I want. And yet it keeps slipping past. Every time I try to be authentic, I'm pleasing other people, or I'm arrogant and I'm just pleasing myself, or whatever else, but it's never fitting perfectly. I'm never perfectly authentic because it's a virtue. So by virtue of it being a virtue, it's eternal. It's this thing we can identify, but we never actually get like a solid definition on it. All of the virtues are like this, by the way, which is what makes them beautiful. But you get into the space where you talk about it collectively, like in a group, and the feeling is, so by the way, it's not a spectator sport. This isn't tennis or soccer or something like that. This is terrible to spectate. It's the most boring thing ever. But it is wine tasting. And it is one of these things where you will have never felt as close to the virtue, whether it is hope or whether it is love, acceptance, humility, vitality, tenacity, any of these virtues. You will have not felt as close to it and just being totally lost, just being like, it's right there. I can almost taste it. I can almost touch it. And yet, and I can feel it kind of welling up inside of me as well. This, like, whatever the virtue is. And yet words are just failing because it is absurd, because the whole living thing is just a fucking crazy mess anyway. And like, we're all human and we're all doing it together, and you feel safe because you're doing it together, and everyone else is kind of in the same spot as well, where they're just like, this is like, it's kind of this. And then you get really playful about it, and you're just like, there's this one situation, and like, I remember this one time, and this is when you get the dialogos part. This is when you get the actual fire, where everyone just starts spitballing, and you start getting this massively creative practice where you've laid out the foundations, you've stacked the logs, as they say. But then when the fire really takes and people just start going off on one, it is the most fun ever. And you really feel like you just get a beautiful moment of just being like, that's what authenticity is. And we just authentically all relate to it, and we still don't have it, and that's okay. And it's amazing. It's brilliant.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, I know.
It is.
I told you I couldn't sell it. I said this at the start. I'm so sorry.
My head is about to explode. No, but in a good way. I've learned so much. Before we wrap it up, Nathan, you mentioned the YouTube channel. I've seen some of your videos.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe if you want to just give that a plug, tell what that's about, what you're trying to get from the YouTube, your YouTube channel, the
YouTube is just okay. So that space where your head's exploding because it's just a lot, and it's just kind of like, yeah, it's the mystery of life. It is the kind of like, I don't know, and yet, I am an authentic person. What's it mean to be an authentic person? It's like I'm trying. That's all I can say. Like I know what it feels like when I'm authentic. Like that whole thing. That's like sharing that space. Trying to get people to come into a space where they talk about that, because essentially what you're doing is you're asking them to come into a space where you're totally deconstructing the character, because you're saying like, hey, I know you're an authentic person, and yet we don't know what that is. I know you're a loving person, but we don't know what that is. I know you're like whatever it is, and these are the things that like we really build ourselves upon. And you're saying like, okay, let's just kind of have a chat and talk about this in a way where we don't have to have an answer, and we actually just share in the absolute mystery, the absolute just kind of, again, head exploding sort of sense of it. Just to have a moment like that. It's difficult to sell. It's difficult to talk about. It's difficult to even kind of frame it, like as in because like I'm talking to like different generations, but I'm talking to like, so again, if we're talking about like where the world is at the moment, like everyone has their own echo chamber. Like I can tell you the difference if my son watches like a certain YouTuber for a while, his language will start to change. As in like Mr. Beast or something like that. I can tell you that he changed for like a little bit, and then he started watching someone else, and it's like, okay, but he's at the stage now where he's kind of flitting through. But if you go to the teenagers, they strongly have. And if I'm going to like the young staff in my place and all the rest as well, they have like a really strong basis of who they listen to on like a weekly basis at least. Like the TikToker that they love, the influencer that they love, they return back and back and back to this thing. So it is, it's trying to bridge a lot of echo chambers. So essentially the YouTube is that. So the YouTube is choose your chaos. And the point is of choose your chaos is that there is no safe place. There is no right answer. It is like, if you want to be the structured, disciplined, orderly person, great. You're going to have to learn how to still have a soul at the end of it. If you want to be the creative spirit that like, burns the candle at both ends and just keeps on going and defies every bit of law and rationality or like whatever else, like grand, you're going to have to learn structure, because otherwise, again, you'll be a slave to your emotion. So whatever path you take, at some point you'll have to learn the other side as well. And that's it. It's just choose your chaos for that, because and also you don't want a destination. You want it to be like an everlasting thing where like it keeps on going, because that's the thing that's bigger than you. That's the like, I want the world in like 200 years time to be more authentic than it is today. Is it more authentic than it was like, say like 50, 70 years ago when you had like Catholic Ireland? Are we more authentic today? Down straight. But put it back further, like, are we more authentic now than we were back when we had to inherit our father's farm or had to inherit like whatever the kind of community was and stuff like that? Yeah. Why? Because we're a bit more like poetic, we're a bit more like whatever else. But, and it comes in bumps, it comes in waves. It's not a straight line. But are we getting there? Are we more humble now than we were? Yeah, probably as well. Are we more wise than we were? Question mark around that one. So, but all of these things, like that's the bigger than, the thing that came before us, to be assertive. Are we more assertive now? Yeah. Will it be more assertive eventually? Yeah. When we're gone, like for our kids, will they be more assertive than we are? Hopefully, damn straight. So then it's always chaos then, because you don't want the like, ta-da, I arrived, because then that's just death, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
anyway, sorry.
I'll put a link up to your YouTube channel for those that want to check it out, and just want to say thank you very much for giving me your time, coming out on this snowy morning and recording this. It's been a pleasure, Nathan, and thank you very much.
No worries, at all.